بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek help from Him, we seek guidance from Him, and we ask for His forgiveness, and we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from ourselves and from our evil acts. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can lead astray, and whoever Allah sends astray, no one can guide him. The truest word is the book of Allah, and the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The most evil matters are those that are newly invented. For every newly invented matter is innovation, and every innovation is misguidance, and every misguidance is in the hellfire. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له هو الأول فلا شيء قبله وهو الآخر فلا شيء بعده هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم يعلم ما يلج من الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. And I witness and declare that there is no God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is alone with no partner. He is the first, there's nothing before Him. He is the last, there is nothing after Him. He is the first and the last and the manifest one and the hidden one. And He has knowledge of everything. He knows what penetrates into the earth and what emerges from it, and what descends from heaven and what ascends therein. And He is with you wherever you are, and Allah sees what you do. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, nowhere of the unseen and the witnessed. He is the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. He is Allah, other than whom there is no deity, the sovereign, the holy one, the giver of peace, the giver of security, the guardian, the almighty, the irresistible, the supreme. Exalted is Allah above whatever they associate with Him. He is Allah, the creator, the inventor, the fashioner. To Him belong the best names. Whatever is in the heavens and earth is exalting Him, and He is the exalted in might, the wise. وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وقائدنا وقدوتنا وحبيبنا محمدا بن عبد الله عبده ورسوله وصفيه من دون الخلق ونبيه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. And I witness that our master, our prophet, our guide, our model, and our beloved Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, is His servant and messenger. He delivered the message, and He fulfilled the trust, and He advised His ummah, and He left it as a bright white light. Its night is like its day. All those who deviate from it will be perished. فصلوات ربي وتسليماته عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين كانوا بحق رسل رحمة وأئمة هدي وقضاة عدل ومصابيح ظلام نصروا دين الله فنصرهم الله نصروا دين الله فنصرهم الله وأعزوا دين الله فأعزهم الله أولئك هم أولياء الله ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. So the praise and peace of Allah is on Him and on His family and on His companions, those who were truly the messengers of mercy and guided leaders and judges of justice and light for darkness. They supported Allah's religion, so Allah supported them, and they gave victory to Allah's religion, so Allah gave victory to them. Truly they are the allies of Allah. The allies of Allah have no fear, nor shall they grieve. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, O you who believe, O Muhammad, O Khadija, O Ali, O Abu Bakr, O Umar, O Aisha, O Yasin, O Mahmud, O Ahmad, everyone in this room, every Muslim around the world, every Muslim that ever called himself a Muslim, pay attention. Allah is talking to you when He said, Ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih. Be mindful of Allah, have fear of Allah, seek refuge in Allah. Always be conscious of Allah and give him the due right to do it. And do not die except that you are in the status of submitting your will to Him. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, I was sent only to perfect and complete good manners. وقال قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He described the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم when he said, and we have sent you not except as a mercy to all the worlds. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us ambassadors of the mercy to all the worlds. Ameen. My brothers and sisters, in the early days of Mecca, when the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims were going through intense hardship, and constantly, any way that they looked, they were always being persecuted and bombarded and put down and humiliated and embarrassed. Basically, it was a situation where if you called yourself a Muslim in public, you were asking for trouble. You were rocking the boat. And it was in this time, in this context, that the Prophet ﷺ would do his form of da'wah, where he would pray in front of the Kaaba. And in this situation where he would be praying and everybody would mock him and point fingers and what have you, a man, he came to Mecca. He was a stranger. He's a man from Irashi, as the narration says. He's a man from Irashi. And he had a business deal with none other than Abu Jahl. And he did this deal, he gave him the product, and Abu Jahl blew him off to make payment. Even though Abu Jahl is very wealthy, but he was just taking advantage of his position and his privilege as a senior leader figure of Mecca. He's one of the heads of the families in this tribal system in Mecca. So he's taking advantage of his privilege. And he refused to give the right to the one whom he bought the products from. So this man is going around Mecca saying, who's going to help me get my right? Who's going to help me get my right? Who's going to help me out here? And the people, in a mocking way, told them, you see that man in the shade of the Kaaba? Go to him, maybe he'll help you. And they're all whispering to each other, yeah, right, let's see how far this goes. So the man goes up to the Prophet ﷺ, not knowing who he was and that he's the messenger of Allah. He just goes to him and tells him, here's my situation, I am not being given my right. And I need your help. Won't you help me? The Prophet ﷺ is in a situation where he himself is being persecuted, called names, tortured. They're putting intestines on his head. He looks to his left and he sees Bilal being crushed to death by a stone. He looks to his right, Sumayya is being stabbed by a spear. He looks around and Al-Khabbab has coal on his back. He looks another direction. He sees the slaves that are Muslims being tortured by their masters until they give up the religion. And what does he do? Does he tell them, I'm too busy for you, I got bigger problems to deal with? The Prophet ﷺ was sent for justice. If you had to summarize Islam in one word, this is it. My brothers and sisters, it is justice. The Prophet ﷺ stood up and he went with the man to Abu Jahl's house, knocked on his door. And Abu Jahl opened the door, and the man narrating the story says that the color in Abu Jahl's face changed. And the Prophet ﷺ looked at him right in the eye and he said, give this man his right. So Abu Jahl said, I'll be right back. He went inside, he got the cash, and he gave the money. And all the while, the people of Quraysh wanted to see what was going to happen. So they actually followed the Prophet ﷺ and the man to Abu Jahl's house, and they're looking, and lo and behold, Abu Jahl he's giving up his privilege. He's paying the man. What? It doesn't make sense. So afterwards they go to him and they say, Abu al-Hakam, what happened? And he said, you guys didn't see what I saw. When Muhammad knocked on my door and he told me to come out and he asked for the man's right, when I looked at Muhammad, immediately behind him I saw this huge camel, unlike any other camel I've ever seen before. And it was so huge, and with its mouth wide open, I felt like if I did not give the man his right, that this camel was going to devour me and eat me whole. When you stand up for justice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of things. All we need to do is stand up. All we need to do is stand up. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, إن الإسلام بدأ غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ فطوبى للغرباء. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that Islam started out as something strange and it will return to become something strange. So blessed are the strangers. And the Sahaba, they asked the Prophet ﷺ, what are you talking about? Who are these people? Who are these strange people, Ya Rasulullah? And his response was, الَّذِينَ يُصْلِحُونَ عَنْدَ فَسَادِ النَّاسِ. He said, they are those who fix the bad situation of the people. As a Muslim, if we carry this title, Muslim, we have an obligation to be a muslih. A muslih is someone who goes out and changes things in the society. He changes things for the better. A Muslim becomes a shining example of what correct looks like. He becomes the moral compass, the true north for everybody. We look at our situation here in America. Look at your own situation right now. When was the last time somebody looked at you funny? When was the last time someone looked at your wife or your sister who wears the hijab funny and weird, or maybe even called you a name or said something? Maybe we have it hard. Maybe. But compare that to this situation where Al-Khabbab radiallahu anhu, he comes to the Prophet ﷺ, he just came from his mistress. He was a slave. He just came from his mistress and she had put hot burning coal on his back. It dipped into his back and he could never sleep right for the rest of his life. So he was coming fresh off of that torture. And he comes to the Prophet ﷺ, who is sitting under the shade of the tree, under the shade of the Kaaba. He comes to him and he tells him, Ya Rasulullah, won't you make dua so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us victory? This torture is unbearable. What we're going through is unbearable. Think about our situation right now. What are we going through? It's unjust. There's an injustice. How much more do we have to handle? How much more do we have to take? And the Prophet ﷺ, seeing Al-Khabbab in that state of having his back burnt off with hot coal, he stood up. He was leaning on the Kaaba. He sat up straight and his face became red with anger. And he told him, Khabbab, you think you have it bad? He told him, the ones before you would be put in the ground and a saw would be brought out and put on their head and they would be cut into 2 pieces and they would not give up their faith. He said that they would comb him with combs of iron until they separated the flesh from the bones and the person would not give up their religion. And then he said, والله لا يتمنى هذا الأمر حتى يسير الراكب من صنعاء إلى حضر موت لا يخاف إلا الله أو الذئب على غنمه ولكنكم تستعجلون. He said, Wallahi, by Allah I swear that this matter of Islam will not come to its conclusion until a rider will ride from Sana'a to Hadramaut, to this area of space known very well to be very, very dangerous. That this single rider will take that route and he will have no one to fear. except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and maybe a wolf that may attack his sheep. And focus on the last two words, وَلَكِنَّكُمْ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ, that you are a people who are in a rush. You're impatient. We're a people who want results now, and we are impatient. You think we have it bad? Let's look at the communities before us that lived in this country, how bad they had it. Let's look at the black community and their struggle. They were captured and sold into slavery against their will. As Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, aka Malcolm X, said, he said they worked from can't see in the morning till can't see at night. They were treated as property and not as human beings. They lived under the crack of their master's whip. This continued for 300 years until in 1863 Abraham Lincoln declared the Emancipation Proclamation, setting every single slave free. But of course in the South it's not applied because they had seceded. So after the Civil War was over and the Union won, then all slaves became free. Well, this sounds like the problem is solved, right? Is the problem solved? Is the problem solved? We all know our history. No. The freedmen, they were now citizens, but they could not be represented as citizens in the country. And they continued to be humiliated and disregarded. So much so that 4 years later, in February 25th, 1869, Congress passes the 15th Amendment to the Constitution, granting African American men the right to vote by declaring that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Great, now it's law. Black people can vote. Problem solved? No, there was a lot of resistance. That not a year passed by when it was ratified, and the southern states were able to effectively disenfranchise the black population through the use of poll taxes, literary tests, violent threats, and other means. And in 1896, another law was passed where Louisiana passes the Grandfather Clause, which prevents former slaves and their descendants from voting. So registered black voters dropped from 44% to 4%, basically non-existent on the electorate. And then six decades later, 1955, Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat for a white man on the bus. She was tired, and she didn't want to give up her seat. But that was just the spark that the civil rights movement needed to start the bus boycotts. And for 13 months, the community got together and they effectively led to the Supreme Court ruling that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional, and this led to the signing of President Johnson of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibited segregation. See, before that you had public facilities that the government was paying for, that every citizen should enjoy. But you would have the water fountain or the restroom, whites only, and for colored, as they were called in those days. And then the law passed, segregation is over. Great, it's the law. Now we got to implement it. But the struggle is not over. The struggle was not over, and so much so that in 1963, that's when President Johnson actually signed the Civil Rights Act in 1963. But systematic intimidation and fear continued in the South. So the civil rights movement leaders, they got together and said, what is the next step? How are we going to have equality in this country? How are we going to have our voice heard? How are we going to matter? The next step was to get the vote. We got to get the vote back. Why? Because thousands of racially motivated murders and lynchings in the South, and not one has ever been convicted. Not one. Not one conviction, because they were protected by white officials, by an all-white electorate, and in the rare case when they do go to trial, they are released or they are found not guilty by an all-white jury. Think about this just for a second. What happened just last week? We saw it. When a man named Mark Fagan, who made a violent threat, multiple violent threats at the Islamic Society of Southern California, in Los Angeles, in our neighborhood. He made multiple calls And he was arrested because for a routine traffic stop, but the police were looking out for him. And so they arrested him because he threatened to make a Columbine-type mass shooting at the masjid, and he had threatened administration as well of the masjid. And law enforcement went to his house, to his apartment, and they found 9 guns and 250 pounds of ammunition. And with that, when he was arrested, the judge let him out on bail. He's out. He's not being held until his arraignment. This is parallel. I want you guys to think about our situation and how black people had it, and so you understand why they said it was so important to get the vote. So the jury was all white, because you can't serve on a jury and you can't serve justice, and you can't do your civic duty, and you don't count unless you are registered to vote. And if a black person mustered up the courage to go down to the courthouse to register to vote, the clerk would look for any excuse, ask all kinds of questions that most citizens probably would not know the answer to, and they would deny them their application. And poll taxes were enforced, and the black community was very poor. The black community was very poor, so they would make it even harder to vote. And if their application was accepted, their names and their addresses was published in the newspaper, so that the community would know, hey, we got a troublemaker right here. And you can bet, you know that they were threatened. You know that they were threatened. Their lives were in danger. Why? Because they dared to speak out. And voting, so they would have intimidation. Voting vouchers. A registered voter had to vouch for you in order for you to be able to vote. So how are you supposed to get a voucher as a black man? How are you supposed to get a voucher when all your neighbors are racist against you? How are you supposed to get a voucher so you can go down to the courthouse, so you can go down to the poll, pay the poll tax, so you can get your name and address published in this newspaper, so you can find yourself dead? How are you supposed to do all that? And in 1964, the 24th Amendment is passed, and now poll taxing is illegal, and over 250,000 new black voters are registered to vote. The struggle continued, but the struggle did not end for blacks in this country, and it continues to this day. And they're not the only group. Asians have their struggle. Latinos have their struggles. The Jews have their struggles. And add us to the list. We have our struggles. One struggle ends for another to begin. But if you think about it that way, it's a hard road. But it's all one effort. It's the effort of justice. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, He commands us, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ لِلَّهِ شُهَدَاءَ بِالْقِسْطِ. O you who have believed, again, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to every single one of us. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, be persistently standing firm for Allah, witnesses in justice. وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. And do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. If you hate a certain individual, do not let that prevent you from being just with him. You must treat him fairly. And then he says, اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Be just. That is nearer to righteousness. واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. And fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is acquainted with what you do. Our country is still going through turbulent times. You have the Black Lives Matter that is happening right now in response to police brutality. Standing Rock pipeline that is threatening the water supply of the Sioux tribe. And by the way, some of the Sioux are Muslims. They're not able to make wudu proper or even do ghusl. That water is threatening them because of some oil company that wants to make money. Our community is more often than not receiving special treatment by the TSA. Our masajid are under illegal surveillance. Our sisters they're open targets. White supremacy groups and individuals who hate Islam and Muslims, they intimidate us. And they have armed protests in front of our masajid. A presidential candidate called for the banning of Muslim refugees who are running away from war and torture. It doesn't make any sense to me. And right here at home, 2 imams were killed in Ozone Park in New York. Sister Nazma Khan, a 60-year-old woman from Bangladesh, she was on her way home from work and she was stabbed to death. 2 women from Yemen with their babies in their strollers, they were attacked by some woman, and she was attacking so viciously that the babies fell out of the stroller. On Eid al-Adha, when we came and we gathered, and mashallah, we had everybody, a full house. And even our mayor and councilman and the chief of police were here and standing in solidarity with us. It's great. But while we were doing that, the Muslim community in Fort Pierce, Florida, they couldn't have Eid prayer because the night before Eid, a racist bigot burned down the masjid. And we can't forget our 3 winners, Diya, Razan, and Yusr. They were killed in their own home, execution style, by their neighbor who says that it was over a parking dispute. Law enforcement is still not dealing with their murder as a hate crime. I mean, even non-Muslims who are perceived to be Muslims, they are being threatened as well and targeted. Why are we being bullied, brothers and sisters? Does the popular kid get bullied? No. The quiet kid gets bullied. The kid in the corner gets bullied. Those who don't stand up for themselves get bullied. So how do we combat Islamophobia? First and foremost, we must be unapologetically Muslim. And we must be proud of what our deen stands for. We must educate ourselves about what our deen stands for so we can hold our head up high. We must follow the footsteps of Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and others, and demand to be respected as a human being in our country. If we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change our situation, if we want to change our situation to change, we must change it ourselves. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. We must vote. We must vote on Tuesday. And we have to vote, and we will vote. We will, because we must vote these congressmen and these senators and representatives and judges who do not stand for justice and instead stand for greedy corporation interests. We must get them out of office. We must vote so we can take their power. We will win what we were beaten and humiliated for. And we must stand. And we must stand. And while we are being targeted by a government who spends millions of dollars every day on 2 wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, yet lacks the moral will and the moral courage to defend the lives of its own people here at home. We will do it. We will do it before any more loved ones are taken by hate. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if you see an evil act, change it with your hand. And if you're not able to change it with your hand, then speak out against it. And if you are not able to even do that, then at least hate it in your heart. And this is the weakest form of faith. 100 years from now, it's 2016. In 2116, what are the Muslims, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, what are they going to say? What are they going to be experiencing? They're going to be reaping what we sow today. Are Muslims going to be walking around with their heads held high? Or are they going to be hiding under the floor, whispering to each other? Why didn't our grandparents stand up for us? Is that the conversation that they're going to have? أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه توبة المستغفرين. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. The Prophet ﷺ told us a story that we really need to think about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent an angel to destroy a community. And the angel, before he did it, he told him, "Oh Allah, in this city is a servant of yours, so and so. And he does not disobey you." So this abid, this Muslim, he's in this village, where this community where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave the order to have it to be destroyed. But there's a Muslim there. Would Allah destroy that community? Because that Muslim. See, this Muslim is in the community. He tucks away in the corner, he prays by himself. He keeps his feelings to himself. He lives his quiet life. And the angel tells him, you have this Muslim, so and so. Should I still destroy the community? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, flip the city on him and on the rest of him. For his face did not so much as turn angry when his community committed atrocities openly. وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ لِيُهْلِكَ الْقُرَى بِظُلْمٍ وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحِينَ. Nor would thy Lord be the one to destroy communities for a single wrongdoing if its members were likely to mend, to fix things. Again, the word muslihun. As a Muslim, we must be a muslih. Some people may say that our vote doesn't count or doesn't matter. I say that voting is our duty. It is our responsibility. First as Muslims, then as people living in this country. Because we are accountable first to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He's not going to ask us if our vote doesn't count. He's going to ask us if we were a Muslim. And if why didn't we stand for justice and truth when we were given an opportunity to do so. He's going to ask you and I, why weren't you a Muslim? Educate yourself about the issues. What's on the ballot? On your way outside, there's a table with a voter guide from the brothers from CARE. They provided it for us. Just grab it. The work has already been done. Just educate yourself. Yeah, from now until Tuesday, before you go to the polls. Know what each proposition is and make an informed decision about how you will vote. And by the way, voting is just the beginning of our civic duty. We need to get on the school boards and run for local office. We need to build ourselves up so we can run for Congress and Senator and the Senate, like Representative Keith Ellison and Andre Carson, both Muslims, congressmen. The people voted Muslims in because they listened to what they had to say. They stood for good, wholesome values. And maybe one day, we will run for the presidency of the United States of America. And Ibn Taymiyyah, he said, Allah yansur al-dawla al-adila wa in kanat kafira. He said that Allah will support the just state or the just country, even if it is led by unbelievers. وَلَا يَنْصُرُ الدَّوْلَةَ الظَّالِمَةَ وَإِنْ كَانَتْ مُؤْمِنَةً. But Allah will not support the oppressive state, even if it is led by believers. So on Tuesday, go out to the polls and vote. Make the Muslim vote heard. If we don't change, our world won't change. And if our world won't change, then you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen if nothing changes, right? Nothing. Pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us from those who listen to this speech and benefit from it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and those our brothers who came before us. Oh Allah, do not allow hatred and animosity in our hearts against those who believe. Oh our Lord, you are the most kind and the all-merciful. Oh Allah, forgive us our sins and remove from us our misdeeds and cause us to die with the righteous. Oh Allah, make us love our faith and make it pleasing in your heart and in our hearts, and make us hate disbelief, defiance and disobedience, and make us from the rightly guided. Oh Allah, forgive the believers, both male and female, and the Muslims, both male and female, both the living and the dead. Oh Allah, cure our sick and the sick Muslims of the world, and have mercy on our loved ones who have passed away, as well as the Muslims of the world who have passed away. Oh Allah, whoever wants good for Islam and the Muslims, make him successful in his affairs, and whoever wants evil to befall Islam and the Muslims, seize them with a mighty seizure. Oh Allah, grant victory to the Muslims in Syria, Palestine, Myanmar, Somalia, Ethiopia, Iraq, Egypt, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and every place they call upon your name, and they are true in their striving for your sake. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى. Indeed, Allah orders justice. He orders justice and good conduct and giving to relatives. وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ, and he forbids immorality and bad conduct and oppression. يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, he admonishes you that perhaps you may be reminded. And before we do the salah, I want to go to make the announcements right now, if you don't, for just a moment. First of all, please, everybody, I remind you every week, and inshallah, some of you guys are coming through, but we need everybody to come through. This is your masjid. Support it. It runs on your donations. $10 a week will cover everything, all the expenses of the masjid, and maybe even a little bit more, so that we can, inshallah, not only maintain, but improve and expand, inshallah. That's number one. Number two is to make sure to go out and vote. On your way out, grab that voter guide and see what the issues are and see where you stand on it. And make your vote, inshallah. Make your voice heard on Tuesday. Number three, tonight, Friday night program. Every Friday we have a program for the whole family, and these programs are made with you in mind. We have Dr. Ayman Taleb coming to continue his class on the footsteps of lessons of the Prophet ﷺ, fiqh as-sunnah. So come in and inshallah benefit from that. And after that, that'll be after Salat al-Isha at 7:30. And after that, there will be complimentary dinner, inshallah. And finally, one more time. That's right. We also have a visitor organization, Sabah Homes. Do check out their booth on your way out before you leave, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair wa aqimus salat.